pastors have to do constantly is remind people that it's not about us, that it's about God and His Word, that we will go away, we will disappear, we will fade away, but God's Word stands forever. That's why we as pastors are constantly not pointing to ourselves, but pointing to Jesus Christ. We are a people who are committed to the things of God, to the things that God has ordained. Now, we believe in the sovereignty of God, don't we? Now, if we believe in the sovereignty of God, that means that we also ought to believe in the means that God has established. Because we understand in believing in the sovereignty of God that God has not only ordained the ends of all things, but that He's also ordained the means to all those ends. And so we have to trust God with the means that He has given. This is what happens in so many churches and why you see a correlation in those churches that don't actually truly believe that God is fully and completely, truly sovereign, or shorthand, that God is God. Why you see a correlation between a lack of belief in the sovereignty of God and having to come up with all sorts of gimmicks, all sorts of tactics, all sorts of schemes and programs to get people in and to keep people in, because fundamentally, if they don't believe that God is sovereign, they're not going to believe that the means that God has appointed are His sovereign means to His ultimate sovereign ends.
Okay, so he's going to get into that a bit, but let me explain that in a term that I understand, but only because I've lived through it, and I'll make this really quick. So when I was in youth ministry, I was pretty fresh into youth ministry, 5-6 years in, and we were doing the basic games, events, little lesson, more icebreakers and prizes sort of situation, right? And the youth group was doing decent. Then we went off to a church planners conference because I thought, hey, church planning, youth ministry, they're very similar in the sense of how you would establish and grow and what you would apply. And at that the church planners conference, the one thing that was overarching in everything is that preach the gospel. That's it. Preach the gospel. There's little things to have here and there. There's things that are on the background as far as building your team and making sure everybody's got on the same page and has the same vision. But the overarching idea here was preach the gospel. If preach the gospel. If the gospel is preached, people will hear and they will come. And I can't tell you how that actually worked, right? So all of the youth ministry techniques and everything that I'd been told in college basically got thrown out the window, and we said, okay, let's look at the text, let's exegete the text, let's preach the text, let's let hard questions be asked, and let's answer it from the text. And our youth ministry doubled. And I don't say that to boast in numbers. I say that to say, all we did was preach the gospel. What you just watched was a short clip from one of our sermon reviews. If you're interested in the rest of the review, make sure you check out the link in the description below.